I want to thank you for joining me today. I know this has been an incredibly difficult time for you and your family. I wanted to start with Natalie and Davy. What would you want people to know about them?
Sure. So, they were special people, exceptional in so many ways, very mature beyond their years, and it played out in their life. And, this is something that has been the most difficult thing we've ever faced, but we want to tell the story of Davy and Natalie. And their example is just so unique and powerful, in a time where there's such a contrast. Their life was such a contrast to our current culture, where people are so caught up in self and worried about all the things that really don't matter. And Davy and Natalie were completely sold out to the calling of God, the ministry, and they were an example of selfless love toward people that, even in ultimately in this situation, did not return that love. But yet, even when they were given the opportunity to come home, they decided not to because they wanted to make sure that the kids had somebody there. The kids would have had nowhere to go if they would have left. That's the kind of mentality they had, and it was just a beautiful thing to see.
Thinking about the fact that they were in Haiti, which anybody who's been watching the headlines knows how dangerous, as you were alluding to there, it has been there and what has been going on. And you mentioned that selflessness. That was the first thing I thought about when I heard what happened, was that here are these two young people who are sacrificing their lives very literally to be down there and to help people. And, talk a little bit more about their inspiration. What led them into that? I know that Davy's family has spent a lot of time in Haiti. Just talk a little bit about what led them there.
Sure. So for Davy, he grew up there. He was born in the States, but his father and mother have been missionaries there before he was born. And so it was his people. The people of Haiti were Davy's family. And, Creole, Haitian Creole was his first language. And from a young child, David and Alicia will tell you that Davy had intention to be a missionary to Haiti, to stay there. He had a long-term goal of pioneering churches, planting churches in the outer areas of Haiti. That was kind of his long-term goal. So obviously, his influence was his parents, and God's touch on his life. From an early age, gave his heart to Christ, and the rest is history. Natalie was very similar. I've been involved in missions work from the time I was 4 years old. My grandfather's a missionary in Guatemala City. I've done a lot of missions work around the world, India, Africa. Never been to Haiti. I'd planned to go once Davy and Natalie were there, just hadn't had the opportunity yet. And so I think some of that rubbed off on my kids, and I've always taught my children that the will of God is the absolute, most important thing that you could pursue in your life, no matter where that takes you. And then later we had to deal with, you know, the fact that Natalie chose missions, and even in a dangerous place, but it was something that we still supported. It was something that I believe in, that principle. Yet I don't understand all of this, how it has turned out, and may not completely understand it until I get to heaven. But I still try to trust that God is sovereign and He has a plan that's greater than ours. And so, her influence was that. Of course, in Bible school, it was something that she had a heart for missions and wanted to pursue that, and especially children. And again, that played out in their ministry there.
The selflessness with which they operated and with which your family has operated is really incredible, and it's very, as you said, countercultural. In the position that you're in as a politician, obviously, what happened became a very big news story, and so the layers of anybody going through this, how difficult that is, then the added layer of the attention on it, international headlines. How did you sort of cope with both of those things, the event itself, finding out about it, and then dealing with that extra layer of so many people, I'm sure, reaching out, knowing about it because of the scope?
It's been unbelievable, the just overwhelming how many people have been reached with this. And even the very next day, knowing that media were going to be asking and wanting interviews and all of that, I told my wife, it's completely up to you how we want to handle this. I don't want to cause any more added stress than we already have. But we prayed about it, and we both decided that we wanted to tell this story every opportunity that we could. Now, that doesn't mean we took every interview. We tried to use discernment with that. But it's really amazing that even in the ones, where you would think it could be and would be twisted in a political way or whatever, it hasn't been. Not to say that there hasn't been a few news outlets and places that, got things wrong or, had a little bit of a slant to it. But it was amazing that this is a story that you can't argue with. You can't argue with this kind of devotion and love toward people and that selflessness. And so we decided we wanted to take every opportunity to do that. It has been overwhelming. I still haven't been able to catch up on all the phone calls and messages and emails and all the things, but right now, I mean, we're getting stacks of cards in our mail every day from people around the world that we don't even know, that are reaching out, just saying that this story touched their hearts, this story touched their lives. I've already heard of several instances of people coming to know Christ as a result of this.
Wow.
And it's a powerful thing that, I, it's though it's hard for us right now. I believe that this is the beginning of something powerful in this generation. This generation has never seen, we've read of Jim Elliot and of Elizabeth Elliot. We've read the Fox's Book of Martyrs, but this is a vivid modern day example of people who gave their lives for the gospel. And I think this generation, it's going to have a powerful impact on this generation. You won't see, very rare is it you see somebody the ages of Davy and Natalie who had that kind of mentality. And I think it's an inspiration to many. And I've already heard that from hundreds and hundreds of people. So, somebody mentioned it at the memorial service that they believe this is a rallying cry for this generation and will inspire missionaries to go and inspire people to give their lives for the gospel's sake. And, that's exactly what Davy and Natalie would want. They didn't like attention. They didn't like being in the spotlight. And, unfortunately, sometimes being in the position that I am, that's just a part of it sometimes. But they loved people, and it was so evident in their life.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see many, 50, 60-year-olds going out and doing what they were doing, again, putting their life on hold, anything they wanted to do here, going there and devoting themselves to help people in a crisis situation, in a dangerous situation. I cannot underscore that enough, how selfless that is. How have you, I mean, you are incredibly strong. I've seen even the messages you've posted talking about, thanking the people who lined up to honor Natalie and Davy. And it was just really moving to see. But how have you kept your faith and your hope alive in the middle of what really is a parent's worst nightmare?
I believe it's just having that foundational relationship with the Lord. I can't imagine doing this or even attempting to do this without that connection and that relationship. Every difficulty that I've faced in life, I think that foundational understanding of who God is, that He is sovereign, that our life is in His hands, is something that has undergirded every difficulty that I've faced. Of course, this is the most difficult thing we've ever faced, my wife and I and our family. But you can literally feel the strength, and that's something that I've never experienced before to this level. Is the thousands, if not millions, of people praying, the people supporting, and how God somehow will give you strength in all of this is it's a remarkable testimony of what faith really means. And the storms of life are something that everyone faces, but the deeper your foundation is, the stronger you can withstand the winds and the storm. And so, that's a part of this message to people, anyone who will listen, is that other people have faced unbelievable tragedy as well. And I know people of faith has as well. And you read about those things, but this time it is very real to us, and just trying to lean into His word, trying to lean into what we've always believed as true, But experiencing it like this is a totally different thing, especially like grief. I've taught about grief from a biblical perspective. I taught Bible school for 8 years, talked about grief, but there's nothing like actually experiencing it in this level. And so it's something that God is working in our lives in this, and I believe He's working in many, many others as well.
I so appreciate you taking the time during such a difficult time. And, we'll have you back as needed to discuss, supporting, the work that is going on there, whatever we can. We appreciate you joining us today.